More breaking news from the world of sports, this time from Major League Baseball. They are following suit with the other major North American sports leagues, suspending their play in spring training as of 4 p.m. Eastern Thursday and delaying the start of their regular season by at least 2 weeks. Let's bring in our MLB Insider Shi Davidi. Shi, no surprise, right?
No, Major League Baseball really didn't have a choice. And look, this has been really piecemeal all across the United States for the different sports leagues and for businesses in general. But this isn't a sports issue. This is a societal issue. This is a public health issue. And you just can't have large gatherings of people right now. That's not what mitigation of this outbreak requires. And it's just putting too many people at risk, essentially. And this is really unprecedented stuff, but this whole continent is going to need to take, a 3-week to month-long timeout or something along those lines. I mean, we really don't know because nobody's experienced this before. There's no playbook. But the more that people are together, the more this thing's going to spread and the worse it's going to be. So, Major League Baseball really didn't have a choice. All the sports leagues don't have a choice. And really us as a society right now, we don't have a choice if we want to make this better.
Do you imagine then the 2 weeks is the bare minimum and that there will be maybe other sanctions in place or other delays in place with the season in that time as well? Is this just to reevaluate how things are going first?
Yeah, I think really that's an optimistic viewpoint and, an optimistic projection because, who knows what it looks like? Ideally, we catch this early. We don't end up in the situation that Italy's found itself in. And, we're more like South Korea where they managed to bring down the numbers with aggressive measures early in the process. And, if we're there, then, I think you can start thinking about what a season's going to look like, what a time frame's going to be, when it's going to be safe for people to gather in large crowds again. But for the time being, it's all just guesswork. Nobody really knows. As much as we'd like to think that we know, we really don't. We've never had to deal with anything like this, and it's all just sort of educated guesswork right now, and people trying to hope for the best, but. If we're going to try to, aggressively push through things, we're not going to have a good outcome.
I know people will be watching this at different times for your sake. If you're watching this, it is Thursday at 3:35 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm watching the Blue Jays and Pirates in front of me play a spring training game right now. Are you surprised there are actual games still happening after this decision was made?
Well, this was the end of it, and I'm a little bit surprised that Major League Baseball didn't pause things a little bit earlier in the day and say, hey, we're going to be talking about all this stuff and considering it over the course of the next few hours. Let's just wait and see. But this is sort of the Major League Baseball's version of the last hurrah that the NBA and NHL had last night. Obviously there weren't strenuous enough objections within the game or amongst players to lead to any sort of delay for today. So they try to keep business as normal for as long as possible. But I think if the leagues weren't going to take these steps, not just Major League Baseball, all the sports leagues, then I think eventually the governments would have stepped in and made this decision for them. So we were dealing with an inevitability, and they managed to shoehorn one more day in, and then hopefully that hasn't caused any more spread to occur.
I know it seems presumptuous to ask this right now, but whether the season's delayed 2 weeks, a month, etc., is there a plan in place to start the season with less games, or will they find a way to make up the lost games, or is it just too early to determine any of that right now?
Well, I think that Major League Baseball is working on a number of different possibilities and seeing how it would look, and I think there would be a scenario if you start in mid-April, a scenario if you start in May, a scenario if you start in June, and what all that looks like from that point forward. But, there are so many issues that, we haven't even begun to scratch the surface on. Just think, like, once games resume, are people going to be immediately willing to jump back in and get into big crowds? Or is everybody going to want to come out? What's going to happen to sponsors? What kind of condition are players going to be in? What are they going to need to get ready to perform? What about vendors, supply lines, all these things? The disruption is societal. It's across the entire country in every realm of life. So, there are a number of factors that I think will impact Major League Baseball and all of sports' abilities to resume once they do get an all clear.
I just want to ask one last thing with regard to the players. I know the NHL has said there will be no practicing. The NBA, there's some discrepancies as to whether or not they're allowed to practice or not right now. I know players are still at their spring training facilities. Is there a plan in place to A, get them home, and B, can they use the facilities to work out, train, etc., or is that off limits right now as well?
It sounds right now as if they're going to try to keep the teams together, keep them around medical staff. I don't know if there's any official word on that just yet. Mm-hmm. And that's certainly one of the things to work through. And you have to wonder, there are going to be some players who maybe don't feel completely comfortable being around a big group. Some players may want to get back and be with their families. And, conversely, there's the scenario that it's possible that there's some players who have already been infected and may not know about it just yet, and just sending them back home risks further spread. And maybe it makes more sense to kind of keep all the players together near medical staffs and things of that nature. So, again, I would expect that this is something that, the Major League Baseball and all the leagues are going to have to coordinate with their local authorities in trying to determine what's the most sensible course forward.
Well, right now, baseball seems to think, rightfully so, that delaying the start of the season by 2 weeks is the play and canceling all spring training as of 4 p.m. Eastern Thursday is the way to start. Shi, I imagine we'll be talking a little bit more in the next couple weeks. Thanks for this.
No problem.